Hey everyone, welcome to another Bolt City podcast, last game edition as the Chargers play their final game of the 2023 season against the Kansas City Chiefs. And not shocking at all. Chargers lose inside the division again. They finished the division with one win. They lose today. Final score 13-12. As we do this show, the game just ended. And the Chargers, again, with the new coach, go 0-3. Just goes right back to the reason of, hey, why would you change coaches? What did you think was going to happen with the Giffer? And instead of letting Staley sit in there and waddle in his mess, you change coaches out. And basically, it was one of the worst games of the season. Chargers lose. They fall to 5-12, Josh. And there are only four teams in the league with a worse record than they had this year. And now you go, where do we go from here? And as far as what you saw today, I'll tell you guys first what I saw today. It reminded me of those preseason games that we hated before the season started. Nobody gave an S, and if they did give an S, they were so bad talent-wise compared to guys that belong on a football field compared to the guys that don't belong on a football field. It was awful. It was awful all the way around on the Chiefs side, on the Chargers side. The difference is the Chiefs get to play next week. Bad news for the Chargers, they don't get to play for about 9 months. So, again, the end of a disappointing season, you lose to a team inside your division. Draft-wise, great. Overall, very disappointing. Can't get in the end zone. It was the Cameron Dicker show like it's been all season long.
Yeah, it was really bad football to end this season. I think the Chargers had 12 field goals and one touchdown in the last 3 games to end the year. But today was a great day as Charger fans. We needed to lose this game, and we got it done. We did something good by losing this game. Honestly, if the Chargers would have won this game, I would have been pissed. Yeah, any Charger fan that's an actual Charger fan needed a loss today. We got what we wanted. Today, we really won, if you think about it. We're winners, actually. This is how we cope around here. We cope like this. We really get the win today, and then an even bigger win. And I hope Charger fans should know this. We were rooting for the Raiders today. You absolutely needed the Raiders to win today, so they have that momentum with Antonio Pierce, where they cannot get rid of him. Max Crosby and Devontae Adams, the two best players on that team, love Antonio Pierce. They already screwed up by bringing in McDaniels to be their coach. They hated McDaniels, right? They bring in Antonio Pierce. Now they look decent. You cannot make the same mistake again and get rid of Antonio Pierce. Chargers really got 2 big wins today. They lose the game with the Chiefs, and the Raiders win, and they have to keep Antonio Pierce.
Josh, you are so right. Look, the Chargers lost, but hey, we won. Let's spin on this thing like a mother, right? They won. All right, it was a tough loss, was an ugly loss, yes. This is also for everyone, too, for the Herbert crowd. You love Herbert. Chargers, one of the 1,000 teams that put it back in QB, finish out the season, or backup QB at some point this season. Only team to not win with their backup, Los Angeles Chargers. So a little thumbs up to the Herbert crowd. Chargers get the 5th pick in the NFL draft. That is official. Behind them, Giants, desperately need a quarterback. Titans, some would say, desperately need a quarterback. Falcons need a quarterback. So they have 3 teams right behind them that arguably need quarterbacks. You even have Vikings at 11 that could need a quarterback, want to trade up if they're going to move on for Kirk Cousins, which is very likely. Chargers are in a good spot. Raiders are going to keep AP. They're chanting AP going out of the stadium. He's jumping up and down. Give them everything. Get out the checkbook there, Marky Mark, and start writing it for good old AP. This is what the Chargers needed. The door is getting bigger and bigger for Harbaugh. Dave, sometimes you got to suffer. So I don't know if I want to make that analogy, but I had a good analogy. Yeah, so sometimes to get the best medicine, you have to do the worst surgery. And the Chargers just did the worst surgery, so we're going to get the best medicine.
Okay.
Yeah. You like that analogy?
I like the angle you guys took because I went in obviously negative. I went in all negative, disappointed, but you guys are right. Just like I said, we're hoping the Chargers lose because we're looking at the draft. I mean, honestly, the Titans, the one things they had to hang their hat on was they got to knock a team inside their division out of the postseason. Jacksonville, if they would have won, they win the division. Jacksonville loses, they're completely out of the playoffs. So the Titans had that, but it completely messes up the draft for them. And you see how teams today mess up the draft. The Giants messed up their draft today, and so for the Chargers, they're the only ones that basically followed through on what they were supposed to do, and that was to lose. It's just frustrating. So you look at the games over at, SoFi Stadium, and you're going, well, there's no Patrick Mahomes and there's no Justin Herbert. And even if you're a season ticket holder, it's just one of those games I want to go to. But when they pan the camera back and you realize there are empty seats, which is unusual because people can think whatever they want if you don't go to Charger games. SoFi Stadium's always full, whether it's the Charger fans or some other fan. It wasn't full today. There were open seats and really good seats that were open. That's not a good sign for the NFL either. But for the NFL, it's a different sport than, let's say, the NBA, where you go, what's the deal with this load management? Today, obviously, the Chiefs are playing, safety, which is what I would do too if I was Andy Reid. Patrick Mahomes, no point in playing. Kelsey, no point in playing. For the Chargers, they're literally just running out of players. I mean, everyone else, I was saying, just go ahead and go. Now, going back to what you said about Antonio Pierce, just like we said on this show, this is not a matter of patting ourselves on the back, that the Jim Harbaugh thing was going to come down to the Raiders and Chargers, and it's gaining more and more steam all over the place, wherever you look, that both teams want him. Now, if you're Harbaugh, are you pulling that card more so because it's a negotiating plea by Don Yee to sit there and say, hey, there are two teams that want him? Or do the Raiders really want him? Do they really have interest in Jim Harbaugh? So people are asking over and over again, all three of us, how do you guys know? What are your sources? I don't know what to tell you. I'm telling you right now, what we told you guys a month ago is coming true. Look at this, Mario. Can you read this? Hold on, if I get it lined up with the camera.
It's a football.
Can you read? Can
read
you read
it
first?
Yeah, it's Jim Harbaugh.
That's right.
Before.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying. I have sources.
Hey.
Okay. There's a connection. Hey, there's a connection there. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I didn't find the thing off eBay. There's a connection there.
Praise
As I
be.
said, praise be. So everything we're telling you to get clicks and for you guys to watch this stuff, it's because honestly, when we told you over a month ago, I don't know when we started talking about this with Jim Harbaugh. I think it might have been all the way back in October. But now here we are. We're getting closer and closer. And Jim Harbaugh's big game is tomorrow. And as you said, Mario, a second ago, in your profane statement, something about bad surgery and medicine.
Yeah.
This might be another one of those steps, exactly what you're talking about. We went through 5-12 season and disappointed everybody, but you might have a chance to hire a head coach who wins 70% of his games in the NFL, and that's unheard of.
Is it really a tactic to have Jim Harbaugh like negotiating with the Raiders and the Chargers when the Raiders aren't looking for a head coach? You cannot justify the Raiders now are looking for a head coach after what's happened. When the best players on the team want you to keep their head coach and you've already screwed it up once, you can't screw it up twice. So I don't know how you could say that, Jim Harbaugh is talking to the Raiders too if people just don't believe it. Maybe the Bears, but I think the Bears didn't look that bad to end the year. I think it's between the Chargers and Michigan. I think Jim Harbaugh is really going to have to make that choice between the LA Chargers and going back to Michigan. But if he's suspended for the 2024 season, it has to be just the Chargers. And I don't know. Maybe I'm just really, really biased. But like Dave said, every time I go on social media, I see Harbaugh to the Chargers is picking up steam. Harbaugh to the Chargers is picking up steam. Another report came out today that the Chargers and Harbaugh are getting very close to completing a contract right when this game ends between Michigan and Washington. If the Chargers get Jim Harbaugh into next season and they get a great player with their fifth pick, which they are, you cannot not get a great player with the fifth pick. You're going to be so excited as Charger fans going into next year to have a great head coach and a great player to build around Justin Herbert. Hopefully Brock Bowers, Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., somebody of that nature.
The light is there, baby. It's there at the end of the tunnel. It's there. It's shining bright. We can all see it, right? And like you said, the options that are open for Harbaugh are really, really closing. I feel like it's almost a done deal. Yeah, Antonio Pierce is going to be back for the Raiders, right? And you have that, and then Bears with Flus with the loss today to the Packers. We'll see what happens tomorrow morning. I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from him. But like we've all seen, it's not like the Bears have really been a front runner with Harbaugh. I know I'm kind of changing my tune here because I really thought Harbaugh would go to the Bears, but just all the signs aren't really pointing in that direction at the moment. It's pointing to the Bears would kind of go look somewhere else, and or that the Bears aren't looking actively enough, and the Chargers are. And that could be to the extent the Chargers already let go of Staley, and Bears still have their head coach, but it does seem that the Chargers are sitting at right in the front row of the Harbaugh show, and they're definitely in the front seat for it. It's not like he's going to go to the Panthers because nobody in this right world wants to go to the Panthers. That place is a disaster. That's where a career is going to die. So there's that. You don't want to go to the Commanders because, again, Commanders, maybe that the scary part about Commanders is a new owner, and that new owner is going to throw everything he can for the big splash. But I don't think that's exactly where Harbaugh wants to go. So all signs kind of point there. We'll hope. We'll see. But, guys, this was a year from hell, and the hell is over. We got pulled out. We're done. We're not chilling with Hades anymore. A little Greek mythology for the fellas in the back. But now we're here. And Dave, all I can say to you, if you give me one bright side from this year, if you give me one thing that go, hey, this is good, or this doesn't make me depressed, what would it be?
They're two guys. They're two guys that showed up every single week and were great every single week. It was Khalil Mack and Cameron Dicker.
Mm.
That was it. I got nothing. Let me ask you again. I'm going to jump right into the negativity. You talked about it on Thursday, Mario, about Austin Eckler trying to reach a certain number to hit that big bonus. Did he get it? He carried the ball 10 times for 11 yards. Did he need 11 yards today?
No, he needed about 100 more.
Then good.
So, yeah.
Good. I mean, I'm sorry. He didn't earn it. He didn't earn that money. You saw the Chiefs when Chris Jones got that sack, right? And he ended up jumping around like a maniac because he got $1 million off that sack. That was $1 million sack. That was pretty cool. But for Austin Eckler to achieve any bonuses, dude, you had a horrible year. And you caused so many problems before the season even began. I'm a team guy, man. Khalil Mack plays as a team player. That's why I'm a fan. I didn't think he had hardly anything left in the tank. And that was his last game as a Charger, unfortunately. Khalil Mack, when you look at the salary cap for next year or the problems, the hits they're going to take, Khalil Mack's going to make around $39 million. The Chargers can't afford to keep a $39 million, 33-year-old player. That's what it's going to be. So he's going to be shown the door. No. And they're going to be a bunch of guys that are going to end up being shown the door. But, man, on the way out, I have nothing but good memories about Khalil Mack. If anything, this entire franchise let him down. That's how good he was.
17 sacks is what he ended up with, Khalil Mack, on the season.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Is that correct? That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
For a guy that I think all three of us felt the same way, that he probably wasn't even the best edge rusher on the team. I would have said Joey Bosa would be the one more likely to have 17 sacks on the year, but Joey Bosa's too busy eating Raisin Bran and going to 49ers games and playing on the football field. I would say Cameron Dicker for sure, a guy that had a great season. Khalil Mack, Keenan Allen, was disappointing. He wasn't able to finish out the year. He missed the final few games. And then Justin Herbert, I would not say had a good season. I know Charger fans want to point to everything around Justin Herbert, to him not contributing, to having a good year. And those are valid points. He didn't have a lot of talent around him. You could see Easton Stick out there, the tank commander today. He had nothing to work around, but that's Justin Herbert's problem too. You need to get these guys real talent to compete in the future. I'm not looking at the end of this year as anything going to next season. I think next season's team is going to be completely different when you bring in a new head coach and a top 5 draft pick that's going to help immediately. But this team stinks right now. This team absolutely stinks, one of the worst teams in the league. And I agree with what Mario said. You can see the light at the end of the tunnel when you bring in Jim Harbaugh and a top 5 pick, and you're going to have Justin Herbert back. I think this team's definitely going to be able to compete next year. And I frankly feel like the AFC West sucks as a division. This division isn't very good. The Chiefs aren't that great. The Broncos are bad. The Raiders aren't that great. And the Chargers definitely have room to improve and make a push to the playoffs next year.
It's a division of a lot of teams trying to reconstruct quickly, right? Because they all went into, the Broncos, the Raiders, and Chargers all in their own ways went into this win now window. And as soon as they got in that window and they looked out of it, they saw a storm and they saw a hurricane coming. They're like, okay, we got to do something about this because this is not good. Let's go hide in the basement. And that's pretty much what they did. So now it's the Raiders that got to do something. They go find a QB instead of doing this backup QB rental that they did with Jimmy G. The Broncos found out that the QB they traded for, paid all this money to, is not very good, way past his prime, and now they have to do something. They have to cut him and live with dead money for a long time and try to find a QB in the draft, which is very heavy this year. And they're on those two spots. The Chiefs got to go, all right, we're about to lose the best tight end we've ever seen play the game besides Mike Ditka, and we got to find our quarterback more weapons, but we have the defense of the so-called future around him. So we got to make a move there. So it's every AFC West team going, all right, we got to kind of reconstruct. Mainly, Chiefs a little bit differently in the direction, but the Raiders, Broncos, Chargers all in this reconstruction mode where they got to make sure that they get the pieces right and they get the coaches right. They get the QB right. They get the weapons right, and then they able to move forward and go past the Chiefs because that's right now what they're all trying to do. It'd be interesting to see which team goes up first. But, Dave, if I had to pick between those 3 teams, I still think the Chargers are in the best spot of all those 3. Like, I wouldn't take the Raiders spot. I wouldn't take the Broncos spot. Like, I still think, even after this hell year that the Chargers had, and you can call them one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL, and I have 2 more teams, by the way, I think that did worse than the Chargers this year. Whoa, hello, balloons. Let's go. So the two other teams I thought did worse than Chargers, but besides the AFC West teams, I still think the Chargers are in the best spot than those other two. The Chiefs, I don't know, but Chargers I still think are sitting pretty solid for the future if they do
You
stuff
need
right.
you need a quarterback, and the Chargers have their quarterback. I mean, they have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The thing is you have to put the right pieces around him. That, of course, includes the head coach. Once they get that head coach that we're all happy with and thinking this is someone Justin Herbert's excited to work with, you're going to go, all right, they're that much closer. Now, wide receiver help, of course, we've talked about this over and over again. That as a quarterback, that's the first thing you're thinking of. It's not protection. You're thinking, who am I throwing the ball to? Who's going to make me look good? The last two plays of the game today, by the way, were a perfect example of what the season was. The last two plays was a pass batted down. Seen that a million times. And then a pass to Quentin Johnson that wasn't caught. And then boom, season's over. That's exactly what we're going to think about when we think about the 2023 season. As far as the Broncos situation, I would not want to be in their situation at all. They do have the coach. They don't have the quarterback. You look at the Raiders, and they have a bunch of guys that are playing really hard. They don't have the quarterback. AOC is not that guy. AOC just is not an elite starting quarterback. He's not that guy that takes you to that next level. One of the guys that puts up tremendous numbers, like stats-wise, but is going back probably to his team. And I think even if he was available and the Raiders were to get him, I don't think Raider fans would be excited about Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins puts up crazy numbers stat-wise. But I don't think he's coming back. Also, I'm not so sure about Devontae Adams. You keep hearing about Aaron Rodgers calling shots and how bad he wants the Jets to pull off a trade for Devontae Adams. So is Devontae Adams enough for the Jets to say, we're going to give up our number one overall pick to the Raiders? And the Raiders all of a sudden have two picks towards the top of the draft. So I don't know what's going to happen inside that division. The Broncos, I think, are a mess in to the point where I don't know how patient the fans can be. You have not been in the playoffs since you won the Super Bowl, Super Bowl 50, and it's a long way to go. Those Bronco fans are very passionate to sit there and say, hey, it's been a long time. You have a new ownership group who's now going into the third year, and they can't be happy losing either. One thing you said, Mara, that I think a lot of NFL fans aren't paying attention to is the Commanders with new ownership. And there's talk about a name change, and anything had to do with Daniel Snyder, you move on from. I imagine the only thing you'd keep would be the team colors. But, Magic Johnson, who's a minority owner with that team, dude, he always talks about he can't stand losing either. I mean, he's a guy that's vocal. That's one of those faces of a franchise that you're going to see complaining more and more. You don't want owners doing that. There's some bad owners, and there are guys who basically get respect by other owners, and those are the Patriots owner, the Dallas Cowboys owner. They run the room when all the owners are in the room. Everyone else is secondary. And so the Panthers ownership group is embarrassing in the entire league right now. I mean, it's insane. Now he's going to fire the GM, who's going to be like on his third coach. He's only owned the team for 2 years. The guy is a complete lunatic. So when you talk about reading the situation, going back all the way around, Mario, the right move for the Raiders, right move for the Chargers, because the Chiefs aren't changing their head coach. They need wide receiver help, and they'll probably end up with somebody pretty good. You look at the situation with the coaches and the way things are going. Your family, because you're a Chicago guy now from Indianapolis, are they happy with their head coach in Indianapolis?
They love the coach in Indianapolis, Shane Steichen.
Oh, that's weird. You know why? Because he started his professional coaching career with the Chargers. And then he left the Chargers and he came back to the Chargers, and he was their OC as recently as 2020. But the Chargers said, you know what? You aren't an NFL guy that can help this franchise. So we're going to cut you loose and you can go on and do other things. We're going to hire Lombardi to come in and take this place. The guy is doing an outstanding job with the Colts. A Colts team with a owner who's in complete disarray, a quarterback that gets drafted from Florida that's completely basically out before the season begins, and you're doing everything with Gardner Minshew, and you're pulling off miracles. And when you need to get big wins, they're able to do it. And you know what? Everybody loves that coach. One of the top three candidates, my opinion, for coach of the year this year. And yet the Chargers had him right there in their offices since 2012. Didn't see it.
I mean, for what it's worth, Nick Sirianni was with the Chargers from 2013 to 2017
Great.
also, and they let him out the door. Who knows if Nick Sirianni is going to have a job coming up soon if the Eagles continue to disappoint. But you hit on a lot of things there. I would absolutely rather be in the Chargers position than the Broncos and the Raiders for the reasons that you just made. We have the quarterback. The Broncos, I think, have to make a decision what they're going to do in the draft or if they want to pick up a guy in free agency. My guess it's going to be somebody like Michael Penix or Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix as the quarterback for the Broncos next year, which is going to be a rebuild. The Raiders, okay, if you get Kirk Cousins, congratulations. Kirk Cousins hasn't won a big game since high school football. I mean, the guy never wins big games. Even in college, he got his ass kicked by Alabama in the playoffs. It never happens. I don't even know if it was in the playoffs, but he got his ass kicked by Alabama. I remember watching that. There's no way that you can say the Raiders and the Broncos are in a better position. And the Chiefs do not look good. And they're old. And Travis Kelce is old. There's not much time left for Travis Kelce. The Chiefs aren't in a great position. This is the offseason you absolutely need to hit on with the head coach and your first round pick and everything else that goes around it, and kick John Spanos' ass out the door and say, buddy, you've done enough. You've hurt this team enough. Get the hell out of here, and then move on from there and get this thing going in the right direction. These next few months are going to be massive for the Charger fans, all of us out here, for the Chargers as a whole as an organization. Everything that happens in the next few weeks with Jim Harbaugh is going to determine what's going to happen for the next few years. This is a huge time as a Charger fan to get this thing going in the right direction. And Aaron Rodgers asking for Devontae Adams to go to the Jets is ridiculous. He's turning into Kyrie Irving, where he just wants everything at the same time, and he's a terrible GM. He doesn't know what he's doing. You have Garrett Wilson, who's a great receiver, who's a guy that you should definitely try to work with, and Devontae Adams is not going to make the Jets' problems any better. I mean, you can't block. Devontae Adams isn't a guy that's going to block for you, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't have much time left. I'm so tired of hearing about Aaron Rodgers on and off the field.
Yeah, anytime a guy decides I want to be GM and everyone needs to listen to me and this is what's going to happen, it's going to be this way, it gets very annoyed. And two, it never works out in the end. It always burns down pretty quickly, and then no one's ever happy. And then everyone's just frustrated in the end. And could happen to a nice guy. Aaron Rodgers sucks. Shame. All right.
Hey, by the way, real quick, just because I know Josh will go, damn it, if he's wrong. I think it was Connor Cook, as you were thinking of, that got his ass kicked by Alabama.
He did. He was Connor Cook, absolutely. But Kirk Cousins did get his ass kicked by Alabama. It wasn't the playoffs, so I'm going to look this up. What were you saying,
also, staying on the Kirk Cousins thing, I don't know if I'm a Raider fan if I want Cousins, because isn't that just kind of a slightly better version of Derek Carr?
I think Cousins is better than Derek Carr.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's a better Derek Carr. Like, that's, and I don't know if I'd want that. I would want a fresh young QB. Let's just go fresh. Just go fresh. Stop the rental,
Okay, so it's funny it's interesting because the Raiders head coach looks like it's going to stay Antonio Pierce. Again, he's a defensive guy. What does he know about the quarterback position? I mean, who's going to be making decisions that knows about the quarterback position? There's some pretty good ones coming out of college right now. If you're the Raiders, the talk is they're going all in to win next year. So, obviously when you're talking a rookie quarterback, you aren't thinking a rookie quarterback takes you all the way to the Super Bowl, whether it's Penix or Jaden Daniels, both guys who I think will be gone by the time the Raiders pick, whether Bo Nix would probably be there by the time the Raiders pick. You aren't thinking a rookie quarterback is the one saying, if the Raiders are saying, honestly, 2024 is our Super Bowl year, I don't think that's the case. I think you got to go veteran. And Garoppolo has proven to be a mistake. So I don't know. Again, all this is good news for the Chargers. At the same time, it's all good news for the Chargers. Let me throw that. I've been thinking about this all day long, and you guys be honest with me on this answer here. With the Chargers, we knew they were playing out the season. Yeah, we were extremely disappointed because we expected them to be a playoff team. Early on, you could tell with the way that record was going that things weren't going in our direction as far as winning the division and making a run in the playoffs. But honestly, today, would you rather be the Chargers or be the Philadelphia Eagles? The Eagles have lost 5 of their last 6 games and aren't anywhere close to figuring this out. They're on pace for a first-round exit after going to the Super Bowl, and I've never seen a team where it literally hands up in the air of, I don't know what to do, where do I point the finger, how are things going so bad, when the expectations were so high, when it looked like on paper they were a better team going into the season than the team that left the Super Bowl after losing to the Chiefs.
I'd rather be the Eagles. Sorry. They just have talent on the team. The Chargers don't have that type of talent. The Eagles,
that talent's not coming back next year. The veteran talent's not coming back. Don't be surprised when A.J. Brown and some of those guys aren't there. They can't afford to keep them.
A.J. Brown shouldn't be there. Have you seen the stories of what A.J. Brown has done to that team?
I have.
Have you seen the stories about what A.J. Brown did to the Tennessee Titans? He's a horrible locker room guy. He should not be on that team. Great receiver, terrible locker room guy. I'd still rather be the Eagles. They have the quarterback just like the Chargers do, and they have more talent around him currently than the Chargers have. Nick Sirianni, I don't think he's a great head coach. I think he's actually probably going to get fired, but I would still rather be the Eagles. They have more talent overall.
I think the Eagles. I'd rather be the Eagles, 110%. For a lot of reasons. One, they still have a lot of good young talent. Jalen Carter is only scratched the surface where he can be. Jordan Davis only scratched the surface where he can be. Devontae Smith is only scratched the surface. I mean, I know he has mentioned the problems of Brown, but Brown's still on a contract for, I believe, 2 to 3 years. I believe he's on a contract to 2026. He's on a contract with them. So they have young guys that can still go with. I think just losing both coordinators is really, really hard to like overcome and to get past, and without there being a regression coming your way. And I think that's just what happened with the Eagles. Regression was coming. Everything was too good for you. It was gonna come, and it came. And now what are you gonna do, right? Because Jason Kelsey is probably gone, and that guy's a big leader on your offensive line. Lane Johnson, he's getting up there in age. He might be gone soon too. So you gotta rebuild your O-line a little bit. But at the same time, your weapons are there. They just need another step, and they're going to take another step. You have a solid defensive front that's pretty young that you're going to be able to do a lot of things with. The Eagles are still in a very good spot. I think the whole city of Philadelphia needs to calm down. Watch some Rocky, eat a cheesesteak, read the Declaration of Independence, and calm the hell down. Learn how to say water, and just relax. Just focus on that for like a week. Take a breath. You have Nick Nurse that's coaching the Sixers pretty good right now. Relax. They need to relax. I'm sick of the Philly cries and the Philly tears. They're acting like this. They're 0-16. You had a couple losses. You're in a perfect spot. I'd rather be them than where the Chargers at right now.
They do have a better young roster than the Chargers. I just have never seen a team like that where they're rolling, and then after that 49er game, everything just went right in the toilet. And then you go in, they're going to lose in the first round of the playoffs. And at the same time, after they lose in the playoffs, that's going to be 6 out of 7 losses that you have to basically taste that and go, what happened? Now you have a franchise quarterback you gave all that money to. Is it Jalen's fault? Is it defense fault? Whose fault is it that things have gone so bad? It's amazing. Again, I'm not an Eagles fan, but at the same time, just watching the NFL and so many things are steps you take to get to where you want to be. They just fell right off the stairs. Where are they going? Where are they going? And then how do you blow the division? I mean, it seemed like without a doubt they're going to win the division. The weird thing about the NFC East, remember they have that crazy stat that no team ever repeats in that division. And if you win it one year, you're guaranteed not to win it the next year. Like one. It's been like 10 years since they've had a repeat champion just in the division. It's kind of crazy to watch, but yeah, that's something else. When I'm watching them against the Giants today, and just in our picks, Josh was the only one that picked the Giants. It was 24-0 before you could blink. And go, man, the Eagles are done. Crazy. Yeah. By the way, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go.
Since I brought up the picks, we had the bet going on the last show. The loser of the picks had to eat a hot dog every 5 minutes. Okay. And so, Mario, you and I tied.
No way. For last or for first?
No. We tied for this week. This week overall. Josh, for last. I'm sorry. I guess I should say. Oh. Josh beat us both. But I'm sitting there looking at these games, and I'm going. I even literally called my wife while she's at the store. Hey, make sure you buy 10 hot dogs. I think I'm going to beat her at least 10. And she's like, "Are you kidding me? You're going to get sick right on there." And so I'm doing the math. I kept all day long. I felt like I was in the championship of fantasy football where you're nervous. And I'm going, all right, here are the games I'm highlighting. Dude, I got all these notes just on the games. Like, you see all the highlights. Those are the ones you and I had opposite. And I'm sitting there making checks, and I'm like, if Mario didn't think with his loyalty to the city of Chicago, he would have picked the Packers. You pick the Packers every week.
I know.
That would have been the difference. I would have been eating hot dogs right now. But we got to figure out a way. And I think the tiebreaker has to be picking the playoffs, whether it's the entire playoffs or just the first weekend. We'll let Josh decide since he's not stuck doing this. But Josh, what should we figure out as far as the result?
How about we let the listeners choose? You can comment. Do you want to see the hot dog challenge take place after the first week of the playoffs or after the entire playoffs is finished? So the listeners can comment on that.
Okay.
I think they should choose.
We'll go with the majority.
I just got back from a ski trip or a snowboarding trip, and my mom had to pick me up. Don't roast me. My mom still picks me up. I'd rather have my mom pick me up than call an Uber. And she's like,
hold on. Wait, yeah. You made it sound like you got homesick and your mom had to go up the mountain and get you.
That's you made it sound. You made it sound you
from my buddy's place. No. Hey, well, no. 30 minutes away from the house at my buddy's place because he drove. She picked me up. Anyways, instead of saying, how was your trip? Did you have fun? She's like, your stupid father, he already has cholesterol problems. He's going to eat 10 Hebrew Nationals. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what are we talking about? Like, how about you ask me how I'm doing? She's like, he's so stupid. Who made the bet? I'm like, he made the bet. She's like, what's he doing? So, yeah, there you go, Mario. I think the listeners should choose who does the hot dog challenge.
And whoever has the funniest comment gets to test out Dave's cholesterol. They get to run the test. I don't know what that entails. I'm hoping blood drawn, but we'll do that.
That's it. Anyway, normally, man, I love hot dogs. I've never eaten one every 5 minutes, but I'm a hot dog guy. I'm old school. Go to the stadium, you buy a hot dog. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it.
I've had a hot dog, by the way, I think like 2 years. Be that ass.
I had 6 yesterday.
Why?
You had 6 yesterday?
Dude, I have an eating problem. I had 6 yesterday before I could blink.
Okay, there's nothing worse than when you taste something good and then you blink and you're like, I just had 8. And you're like, gosh darn it. Like I've been there before, brother.
Dude, I'm 30 years old. It's not even cool. It was like cute when I was younger, like, oh, look how much this guy can eat. Now it's like, this guy's disgusting. Like, I was with a group of people. They're like, you've eaten 6. What?
You're thin.
What do you say?
You're thin.
For now? Dude, for now. My
you
can't
probably
work
got
it out.
You probably got crazy bloated.
Dude, I don't even want to get into what happened after I ate 6 hot dogs and 2 hamburgers. But the people I'm with are like,
what? The 2 hamburgers in too. Did you hear that? 6 hot dogs and 2 hamburgers.
And cake. Because our friend's birthday. It was gross, dude. I just it's not even cool. Like I said, when I was younger, it was cool. My grandparents would cheer me on. Now it's just disgusting. You're like, look at that grown man over there eating all this food. It's disgusting. Anyways, let's get back into football. What do you think the 2023 Chargers are going to be remembered as? What is going to be the one thing you think is going to stick out above the rest, Mario?
Honestly, I don't think they'll stick out. I think they'll go, this was another Charger season. Another season where before the season, we had these high expectations. We think they're a playoff team. We think they can compete with the Chiefs. We think they're a threat for the AFC crown. We think they can make a playoff run. And then the script was out there once again. The script that is as old as time. It's the same script you see in every superhero movie where they end up winning in the end. Except the Chargers end up losing by injuries, by bad defense, and by just Charger luck. And I think when you go back and you look and you go, this was another page in the Charger history of injuries got us. That happened again. We didn't make the playoffs. We're not a threat to AFC. We're not for real. We got the QB, though. We got the QB, so there's hope. So maybe next year. And I think it just goes along. I think it's hard to say this season's worse than others just because we've seen this story so many times, Dave. It's just added to the misery, added to the pain, and, get a cast, put it around the arm, just another broken arm.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mario's a little bit right on this one when he says it's just another one of those seasons. It's not like the Steelers. Like, if this was the Steelers, hey, remember that when the Steelers had a losing record? Do you guys remember that? And they had to pick number 5. I mean, because it doesn't happen with Mike Tomlin teams. It's not what Mike Tomlin does. For me, when I think about this season, I'm not going to think about Justin Herbert getting the passes knocked down or Quentin Johnson not being able to catch. I'm going to think about Brandon Staley. And I'm going to like, what are we doing? How do we waste an entire year knowing he wasn't the guy? We knew he wasn't the guy after the Jacksonville game, but you brought him back, and then you waited to the last minute to even fire him. That was ridiculous. With 3 games to go, just didn't make any sense at all. Now you got the Giffer over here who, all of a sudden is like, I couldn't even get 1 win. I'm 0-3 in my career. I'll never be a head coach in this league. And then for the Chargers, I think you're just going to look at it and say that was one of the Staley years. And that was one of the worst times going. That when you're going to look at Justin Herbert's resume at the end of his career, man, that poor kid, he had Brandon Staley as a head coach. And then hopefully he has great success with the next guy, whether it's Jim Harbaugh or Ben Johnson or anyone else. But you hope at the same time that this was just a big hiccup for this franchise. And you look back on it and go, man, they used to stink. Hey, at one time the Steelers used to stink too. Before they drafted Terry Bradshaw and all those Hall of Famers, the Steelers were the joke of the NFL. But the Chargers, man, I sit there and I watch the game like today, and I'm like, man, this team has the best stadium. They got the best uniforms, and they cannot win. They just play bad football. It's just disappointing all the way around.
Okay, so I'm going to disagree with you guys a little bit on this. I agree in the sense of like this is a typical Chargers year where they disappoint and everything goes wrong and they don't make the playoffs. But the part where I disagree is this is the one year that I've ever seen with the Chargers where you can put the blame on somebody other than the players, and specifically John Spanos. I haven't seen anybody put any sort of blame on John Spanos until this season. Do you agree or disagree? I've never seen that.
Yeah, Dave, I'd say it's the most attention he's ever got. I'd say it's the most the ownership's taking the beating and taking the heat for all the decisions. But and also in the Spanos area, it's the first time we've ever seen a coach get fired mid-year.
Well, look, John has taken heat for the first time because we're the ones that started pointing it out. I'll take credit for it right now. We pointed it out. Most people didn't know about John or AG, the other son, the older son. It's John is the one we're pointing the finger at because we got information from people inside the organization that John's the one making the calls. Yet when things don't go bad, he has no problem putting it off on the guys that his dad's writing checks to. So look, my dad's paying you a lot of money, so you're going to take the heat for my bad decisions. And we're pulling the curtain back and telling you this is John. This is John Spanos messing this up. And so when we started pointing it out, I don't think too many people knew the names of Dean's kids, but yet his kids work high up in the organization. Dean's not making any decisions for people who want to know. Dean doesn't make any decisions. He's just the guy that shows up to the owners' meetings. He's a guy that has 8 million pairs of khaki pants and blue blazers in his closet and is told where to go. He doesn't do anything football operation-wise. His sons, though, AG's more of an accountant, and if you want to call it that, and John's the one who actually wants to be a football guy. He's the guy that loves the sport of football and says, I want to build a roster and want to be known as whatever, a genius and a president. He's not that guy. He obviously has proven he's not that guy. So one would say he's never taken heat like this. We started pointing it out on this show a few months ago, I think in early November. And after that, it seemed like it has caught fire, which is exactly why we pointed it out, just so people know. We said, we're going to start dropping his name. Why protect him? We don't owe that guy anything. The only thing this franchise owes the fans is wins, because the fans are the ones buying gear, buying stupid hats, and buying tickets and spending their time on Sundays watching these games. You owe us. You know, we can't change teams. We're stuck. You gave us this stupid disease. Now fix it.
Yeah, so it's exactly what I was going to say. Dean Spanos is that guy that puts his name on a group project and gets an A when he didn't do anything. You know, he's that guy and part of the NFL that just shows up to the meetings. He's a part of the country club that doesn't actually do anything. John Spanos, this is the first time he's ever caught heat, and I love it because finally we're putting pressure on somebody that's actually making decisions, and he's getting attention in a negative way, which he deserves. I'm so curious, dude. I cannot tell you how curious I am in the next few weeks, next few months on what they're going to do with John Spanos, because that's going to determine what happens with this team. Would you rather have an owner, Mario, like David Tepper, who's an absolute psychopath who wants to win at everyone's cost, or a guy like Dean Spanos that seemingly does not care?
Ooh, that's tough because I think the bridge that they have in that is that they don't leave the respective coaches or GMs alone. That they're both like, hey, what's going on? You know, like they
But
like
that's what John does.
I know, but that's
Well,
what I'm saying. Is the bridge between them. Yes, is that they both do that. But
yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah, I think I'd still take John. I think I'd still take John over Temper because Temper's got too big. The problem with Temper is that he's is I think there was Spanos at least has. I'm about to give this guy credit, but like he has a little bit more credibility, I would say, with the NFL than what Temper is. Like the decision of that they made last year to get that number one spot for Bryce Young has really sent that franchise back. I mean, really sent them back. And I don't think John has the balls to make a move like that because he's just, I would say, smart enough not to make that move. So, Dave, I sit here and I go, I'd still take old Johnny boy, but it's not by a mile. It's by about a centimeter.
All right. So, again, John Spanos wants to be a guy that makes business decisions off the field and on the field. Like he wants complete control is what he wants to do. Fans need to pay attention to this, by the way, because Dean's not going to be there forever. You know, Dean's nearing 70 years old if he's not 70 already. And then it's going to be his two sons, AG and John. And so John's already helping your roster out and picking coaches. It's not a good deal. The difference of like Mark Davis, let's say the Raiders, Mark Davis is a likable person. Like people like Mark Davis. People feel bad for Mark Davis. They understand what his dad was. His dad was that guy that used to walk in and control the room and make a million enemies. Mark Davis doesn't have enemies. People feel bad that it wasn't easy being Mark Davis, and everybody knows it because there are a million stories about how Al would embarrass him in front of everybody. It was not easy growing up as Al Davis's kid. It's completely different than what Dean has done with his kids. Dean's obviously a father that loves his kids and trying to give them everything they want. Al, if he was still alive, there's no way in hell Mark would have anything to do with this team. He never thought his son was smart enough to have anything to do with this team. He wants to win, to prove not only to his dad, but also to the great Raider fan base that, hey, I can keep this going. Nobody hates Mark. Nobody hates Dean, by the way, of NFL owners, too, from the people I've spoken to around the league. No one dislikes Dean. Dean goes to these owners' meetings, sits in the back of the room, and doesn't say a word. He's not that guy. This guy, David Tepper, who's the new owner of the Panthers, I say new because he's only been there for a short while. He's a maniac, and the NFL made a big mistake bringing him in, part of the club. They know that they made a mistake. This guy's an embarrassment. Look, you want the logo of the teams to be what people talk about. There's a reason why you don't take your helmet off on the field during a game, because the NFL owners knew that we don't want to individualize what's going on in our product. It's all about the logos. When players are let go and there aren't guaranteed contracts, fans think about them for a second, and then boom, they're gone, and there's the next guy wearing your logo. It's the opposite of what the NBA does, which the NBA, by the way, has a major problem because it's not the logo, it's the player. And it's not the same thing. The NFL has this thing figured out pretty good from top to bottom. And I'm watching today going, this is an amazing sport, the way they have fine-tuned this thing, that we're all in, even if your team's not in the playoffs, because you want to see who gets in, who gets out. But David Tepper is bad for this league, and the NFL owners know it. I don't know how you get rid of an owner. I mean, look how long it took to get rid of Daniel Snyder, who is not good for this league. But basically, sit down, shut up, and collect your check. You're getting $438 million before the season begins. Every owner is, from just the TV deal. Doing okay. These guys are doing all right. It's a pretty good club. But David Tepper hasn't figured out, everyone else in that room is a billionaire too. And so when they sit at the poker table outside of the NFL, they are the big man in the room. But when you're sitting in the room with 32 owners, everyone is become a billionaire because they all earned the right to sit at the poker table. The difference with you, David, is now you're sitting at a poker table, 31 other guys that are used to winning also. And it's not that easy to keep firing people over and over again. You can't keep firing coaches and general managers and freak out on your first round pick when he has nobody to throw to and nobody to block for, and say you should have drafted CJ Stroud. What kind of confidence is that for a guy that's not going anywhere? Bryce Young's not going anywhere yet. No. But David Tepper is bad. The fact he threw a drink at a fan at a Jacksonville game a week ago and was fined $300,000 for it is insane. I've never thrown a drink on another human being in my life. Have you guys?
No.
He's a lunatic. Yeah, Mario has. I can't tell you, Mars has a girl ever thrown? Hold on, before I even ask the question, I'm gonna guess your answer.
No girl has ever. No,
I'm guessing
no
June or your grandmother or your mom has thrown a drink on you.
No, I've never had a drink thrown at me. No, I've had a drink accidentally spill on me, but I've thrown a drink at a person before as a joke. They didn't think it was that funny. I thought it was very funny. I've done that before.
Wow.
Hand up on me. It wasn't funny.
Was it a girl or a guy you threw a drink on?
Guy. And I would never throw a drink at a girl. It was 100%. It was my friend. What?
Did he fight you?
Oh, yeah. He was. I thought you'd get the punchline. He didn't think it was that funny.
Yeah.
Again,
you got the punchline.
Sometimes you go for the joke and it doesn't work out, and you gotta eat that one. I ate it. I said, "Hey, that's my bad, friend."
Doesn't the NFL do a background check into who they let into the country club?
Yeah, they do.
These David Tepper stories, if you have some free time, look at a David Tepper. The stories are absolutely amazing. I can't get enough of David Tepper stories. I don't know how true this one is, but I heard this the other day and I have to share this. This guy is a hedge fund manager, I believe. Yeah. He wasn't promoted because of his temper, shocker. So he moved to a different company, put his old employer out of business, bought his old boss's house, burned it to the ground, built another house on the property bigger, and then just lived there just to stick it to that guy. David Tepper is an absolute psychopath. With that being said, I'd rather have an owner that cares. I don't want David Tepper as my owner of my team. But the fact that it seems like Dean just does not care, and I'm sure he does want to win, it bothers me to no end because, some of these guys like Jerry Jones and Mark Davis want to win at all cost. And when Dean allows his son to make these decisions when it does not work, makes me feel as a fan that he does not care. And I cannot tell you how much it bothers me as a fan to know that your owner doesn't care. I mean, it just is insane. Jeannie Buss, I love the Lakers. She'll do whatever it takes for the Lakers to win. Alabama will do whatever it takes to win. By the way, it was Kirk Cousins who lost 49-7 in the illustrious 2011 Capital One Bowl. But yeah, I just want Dean to do what's right. All eyes are on Dean for this offseason. Please do what's right. We all know what the right move is to hire Jim Harbaugh. And like Dave said, the owners get $434 million every year. You have the money to pay Jim Harbaugh. Just do it. Make the right decision. This is all on Dean.
And Ginny Bus does everything to win except sign Alex Caruso. Just wanted to.
We got Austin Reeves.
Don't go there.
No, not.
Yeah.
Oh, how's that working out for you?
Pretty
really
good. It's not his
right
fault.
now.
The rest of the team stinks.
Oh,
Need a new coach, just like the Chargers. Maybe Staley can do that.
well, hate to break it to you, if he can't do football, I don't know what he's doing with LeBron.
Look, last thing I'll say about Dean, because it's funny. Someone on Twitter accused me of sticking up for Dean and apologizing for Dean. I said we straight out rip Dean. I think 3 times a week on this show. If you met Dean, I don't think you have really any strong opinions about him one way or another. Whether you think he's a loser or a winner, the one thing about Dean is he's really quiet and he doesn't want to be embarrassed. Like if there's one guy that could disappear into the shadows, it would be that guy. I guarantee you when they put the cameras on him during the game, he hates it. And then when you look at Jerry, man, loves the attention. Jerry loves every bit of this NFL life. Jerry's biggest problem right now in his life is he can't figure out a way to live longer.
Yeah.
Like Jerry's one of those guys thinking, I have all the money in the world. How can I live another 50 years? Like life does not get better than this. Dean, honestly, I think would be one of those guys. If I didn't have to go to the games and nobody ever put a camera on me, I couldn't be happier. But I think he does want the team to do well. He just doesn't like the attention. His dad was an attention guy, and I think his sons are attention guys. I just don't think that Dean's an attention guy.
One more thing. The argument that I cannot stand that everybody keeps throwing around there is that Dean does care because they have this new facility and they spend all this money on the defense and they have this and they have that. It's like, dude, Dean won't hire a head coach. He keeps hiring coordinators. It's like the guy that built that submarine where people recently passed away and it was ran by a crappy video game controller.
Yeah.
It's like you have this really nice thing there's nothing behind it. Like you can't pay for all these nice things and all this cool facility and not have the head coach. It like doesn't make any sense. That's one argument I don't understand that people keep making. Oh, Dean cares. He has all this stuff behind this team. You don't have a coach and you haven't had a coach. This is Marty Schottenheimer. So just do the right thing. Like,
yeah,
the answer is right there. Am I crazy?
No, it's his biggest fault. It's his biggest fault is the coordinator coach. It's like you need a strong it's back to the Harbaugh thing though. Like that's why we all want Harbaugh. It's because he's not a coordinator. He's a well-established head coach. And it goes back to just everything we talked about, Like it's like we need something like that.
We do.
So
we do. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Pressure's on you, Dean and Johnny.
We'll see what it's like on this week because I think this week you're going to get some answers. More and more talk about the Chargers, especially today, is where everything is headed with Jim Harbaugh. The only one who's saying Raiders is Diana Rossini. Came out today and said Raiders, but everyone else is saying Chargers. I mean, 99% media seems like they're saying that Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh plays for the national championship tomorrow. After Monday, hopefully we have a better idea. What Michigan ends up doing. People who say, well, he has this amount of money at Michigan and he has this many years at Michigan. Remember this, what Josh said at the beginning, there's a lot of talk. The NCAA plans on suspending him for the 2024 season. If his brother goes and wins the Super Bowl, that's even more of a reason to come out back to the NFL. So I've done everything I can in college. Now it's time to ruin my brother's dreams. And I want to be that guy to do it because that's the kind of guy I am. Okay, so we'll see.
Yep.
We want a guy that's competitive, even competitive with his own brother. We'll be back in a couple days. Of course, we'll be ready to go Chargers. We'll talk about the playoff picture, especially leading into the weekend. And then we've decided we're going to still stay with 3 shows a week throughout the playoffs, and then we'll figure out the schedule from there. But a lot of stuff's going on with the Chargers over the next couple days. Hopefully we get some good news. By this time next week, we have a really good story to tell you. So hopefully everything goes in the right direction. Bolt City Podcast. If you're listening through the Odyssey app, again, thank you very much. Please give a thumbs up or subscribe to the show if you like this show. All right, I always forget to ask. And at the same time, if you're listening through YouTube, you're going to decide the punishment for Mario and me. Can you make the balloons go up again? For
yeah.
for
I
for
did,
uh for us, as far as
did that.
as far as eating the hot dogs and picking the games and all that stuff. But again, Chargers lose today, final game of the 2023 season. Thank goodness, 13-12. They lose to KC. Only one win inside the division in a horrible year. Let's move on. Get ready for the draft. Get ready for the playoffs. Get ready for a new head coach, new GM, everything that will come forward with a lot of decisions with this team. We'll be back in 2 days. Again, for Mario Herron, Josh Palet, I'm Dave Palet. We'll see you on Tuesday.